MTV ロックス V 字の件です。さあ今日はすごいゲストを迎えてますね。僕もすごいめちゃめちゃ往年のファンだったんだけども、W.A.S.P のお二人です。ブラッキーとクリスが、今日はね遊びに来てくれてます。Thank you very much for taking time.
Thank you.
Waking you up very early in the morning. Yeah. So, how you guys feeling back in Japan?
Hungover.
Yeah, hungover.
Jet lag.
The new album, it has a very aggressive title.
It does.
Yeah. So that shows how the band is right now. Rather, yeah?
Well, it's him and I back together again. I mean, it's, you know, when we first got together, we said, within the first week, we said, if we're going to do this, and we're going to be the real W.A.S.P, we're going to have to be the nastiest, stinkiest, filthiest fucking band on this planet. And so, that, you know, the album title, as well as the songs in the show, for that matter, you know, are a reflection of that attitude. We'll start the official tour on April 24th. We start in Madrid, and we'll do 2 months in Europe. Then we go to America for 2 months. Come here in September.
Yeah.
And then back to America after that for 2 more months. So we're going to be busy for a while. And this show is intense, to say the least.
Okay. Yeah, well, I've seen some photos in some magazines already, some information like really nasty bad coming back.
You know, we didn't want to be boring, you know. We just, you know, we talked a long time and we said, hey, what's going on out there? You know, it's there's not one truly dangerous band on this planet. You know, let's show them how to do this again.
Visuals and music always were strong together with W.A.S.P. So in that case, yeah, I'm totally curious about the show tonight. Is there anything from a couple of years ago that you will bring with you?
No, everything is new. You know, it's like...
We brought a few road cases.
Good old road cases.
Yeah, right. We felt like this: if The Exorcist scared people 20 years ago, it won't scare them now. If the W.A.S.P show of 12 years ago won't scare people. You know, we've got, if we're going to be a dangerous band, and I don't feel that there's really one truly dangerous band out there. If we're going to be a dangerous band, a band who is capable of doing anything at any moment, a band who is capable of striking fear in the hearts of promoters, governments, parents, that we could not do what we were doing before. Again, we didn't want to take a trip down memory lane.
What you did 10 years ago, or even long ago, like, I don't know, throwing raw meat into the crowd or whipping naked women, is something that younger bands nowadays do to shock people.
Right. But it's lost its shock value.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, because you know, you take a hammer.
Right.
You take a hammer and hit yourself in the knee with it. You don't have to hit yourself very hard. You just keep doing it. Eventually, your knee will go numb. It's the same thing with visuals. You know, it's like you've got the whole object of either making records, making movies, a stage show like we're doing, whatever, is constant stimulation of the human mind. That's the reason when humans sit on an airplane too long, they get bored, because their mind's not being stimulated. You've got to constantly take that human imagination and push it into an area that it hasn't been before. That's what makes people interested. You mentioned other bands, you know, from a decade ago coming back. They may feel that doing the same thing is a safe approach. To me, it's the opposite. That, to me, that's a death sentence. I think a group like KISS can come back and do what they're doing because they're not really selling records at this point. You know, they're doing that Las Vegas style show that they do, you know, and that audience of theirs is older and all that, and I think it's perfectly fine for that. But a band that, say, is only 10 years old, that's treading on dangerous ground because you can be obsolete very quick. Our feelings, like I said before, is that we wanted to do something that was contemporary, where almost like we never had a past. And some people might view that as more dangerous, but I view it as less dangerous because from a personal point of view, from an artistic point of view, I'm my own best salesman if I believe in what I'm doing.
Welcome to this week's edition of Metal Machine. I'm your host, JR. This week we have the one and only Blackie Lawless and Chris Holmes. W.A.S.P. back in the 90s, playing Irving Plaza. New tour, new album. We're going to talk to the guys, see what's happening on the tour. New album, all new music. But first, here's an old one. I Want to Be Somebody. We are back with Blackie Lawless and Chris Holmes. Metal Machine, W.A.S.P. playing New York City. Been on a full-length, 18-month tour, all over the place, all over the world, right? All over. Guys, introduce yourselves. Tell the fans what's going on.
I'm Blackie Lawless.
Correct.
We are the better half of W.A.S.P.
So what's up with this new tour?
Well, we've been out effectively now since the end of January. And we're going to be out till sometime in the beginning of the first of next year. So it's safe to say we're going everywhere and doing everything.
You got a new album, Kill.Fuck.Die.
Oh, you can say it.
Oh, we can say that. We can say that on this machine.
Starting out with this insert right out.
That's right, yeah.
What's the name of the album again?
Kill.Fuck.Die.
Okay.
Tell us a little about the album. People haven't heard it. It's W.A.S.P in the 90s.
When we got back together, we said we did not want to be a trip down memory lane. But we knew also by the same time, or at the same token, that we had to hold on to a lot of where we had come from. A band that's been around as long as we have has a past. You cannot deny those past. So it's important that you pay homage to that, to where you came from. Again, this is just like an updated version. This is probably the closest thing to the first album.
Right. For the people who are either going to want to check out the shows, hear the new album, how would you compare W.A.S.P now from W.A.S.P maybe 6, 7, 8 years ago?
This is probably, without a doubt, this is the most angry record we've ever done. You know, when him and I got back together, it was August of '95. And we worked covertly in secrecy for a year. And because we felt like the time we made a record, we put a tour together, it'd be at least a year, and it was actually 18 months. So we felt that if we said anything right away, the cat would be out of the bag to make the announcement when we finally did have the record ready. So we said, okay, that's the way we did it. But when we first got together, both him and I had come out of bad relationships. And to say that we had tankers full of gas to pour on that fire for enthusiasm and inspiration in this record is like calling King Kong a monkey.
Blackie Lawless, Chris Holmes, we'll be back. Scream until you like it. And we're back. Blackie Lawless, Chris Holmes, W.A.S.P. New album, Kill.Fuck.Die. You got some interesting cover art here for people real quickly.
The object is, you know, this album is an abstract record as well as our musical. So artistically, we wanted something that reflected the vibe of what we were feeling when we did this. This is in a lot of ways a very scary record. This is a very scary cover. It's also an expensive cover.
Yeah.
Nobody does these anymore. It's, like I said, far and away much more expensive than we did. But we just wanted something with, like in the old days where you had the album jacket that opened up and that jacket did something. Right. We wanted to give the fans something more that they just don't get like they used to.
Just switching over real quickly, what is W.A.S.P or Blackie? What do you think about the political atmosphere of the United States and things like that?
I'm a First Amendment to the Constitution priest.
Because you know what your show is going to do to people around America.
To be honest with you, this show is designed by design to shock people, to get them to pay attention to exactly what that First Amendment is about. We were attacked for a long time in the 80s. I was the poster boy for it. The First Amendment to the Constitution is the most precious cornerstone that we have in our society. That's tampered with in any way we have nothing. So it's important that we have extremes in both directions that enable us to do the things we want to do. When the Founding Fathers wrote the First Amendment to the Constitution, did Thomas Jefferson have W.A.S.P in mind? No. But what they did have was the spirit of what freedom of speech represents. And they had something much more in mind, which was literally, in the Declaration of Independence, it says life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. These guys meant that quite literally, because they were under a literal fascist regime at that point. That if they did not succeed, they were going to die for what they had done. So that's why it is the First Amendment. It's not the fifth, it's not the 10th, it's the first. It's the most important.
What does W.A.S.P want to tell the fans?
That's about, as far as that goes, that's what this entire show is all about, to reflect this spirit of what that First Amendment truly is.
Blackie Lawless, Chris Holmes, W.A.S.P. New album, Kill.Fuck.Die. Watch them when they come to your place. This show is kicking ass.
This is Bob Butane for DeGallo's Pit, sitting here with Blackie Lawless and W.A.S.P. ready to kick some ass in fucking Pittsburgh. What's up, Blackie?
fucking Pittsburgh, huh? Well, as opposed to just regular Pittsburgh, this is a small suburb on the outside of town. The thing that's always made us different and always separated us from other bands that have done what we do is that we do a thing called confrontational theater. You know, we used to make a joke, 10 years ago we called it psychodrama. We said it was psychotic people doing drama. Well, that's what confrontational theater is, where confrontational theater is like the first time you went to the theater and you saw Jaws or Platoon or Apocalypse Now or Silence of the Lambs, and you came out and you felt that uneasy, bizarre feeling and didn't really know what it was. Well, that's emotional rape, and that's what the filmmaker has just done to you. That's what we do in a theater sense in here. Outrageous, for the sake of being outrageous, is not what we do. We're trying to worm our way deep inside your head to press the right button, so when you come out of this room, it's not like a regular show where people are jumping up and down. The ultimate compliment I can ever get is when people leave this room, I see the look on their faces because they're running that film back in their head and they're thinking to themselves, what the hell did I just see? That's what I'm interested in.
Hi there, welcome back to Headbangers Ball. It's our Valentine's Day massacre, and I think it's actually going to turn into a bloody Valentine right now, because I got to say to you, Kill, Fuck, Die. I'm not being rude. That is the title of the new W.A.S.P album out on the 24th of March, and as you can see, Blackie and Chris are joining me here at Rock City in Nottingham. May I say that you look absolutely fantastic. It's great to have you back on the show, so welcome. And just to start off with, you've been playing some shows in Europe. How have things been going? Everything looking good?
Well, we're doing a 7-show pep rally, effectively, is what it boils down to. Because, as you mentioned, the album's out on March 24th, and Chris and I have not played together in public for 7 years, so we decided to come give everybody a teaser before we do the real tour in the next couple of months.
You're back together again, as we said, after a break of 7 years. What was it like when you got into the studio? Did the chemistry immediately come back, and did you find yourselves kind of inspiring each other a lot?
Well, the way that him and I work is I keep him from going too far one direction. He keeps me from going too far the other direction. That's the reason the 2 albums that I made on my own are effectively solo albums. That's why when the 2 of us work together, there's some sort of a wacky chemistry that makes it sound like the quintessential W.A.S.P. And for the first 8 months, we kept this whole thing a secret. We had to lie to a lot of people for a long time.
You did well.
Oh, yes, because people were calling us up, friends of ours, and they're going, "You 2 guys working together again?" And I go, "Nope." And so about a week would go by, and they call me back and go, "You sure you're not working together again?" I go, "Nope." Yeah, because the reason we couldn't let it out is because if we would have done that too soon, then it wouldn't have had any impact. Right. We got ready to do these shows. We were working, basically, he's got a small studio down at his house, and we would work down there, and we would write ideas, and every few days he'd come back up with new improved versions of the things we had done. So it's like it's a constant trade-off situation the way him and I put it together.
Right. Would you describe it as a concept record, or would you say more that the whole thing of the live show and the album artwork and the album itself, that's all a big concept?
It's not a concept album per se, but what we always did in the beginning was try to package everything as if it was one complete unit. In other words, where you cannot differentiate the difference between the live show and what the album is, and the packaging and all of the marketing that goes behind it. It should be one gigantic extension of each other, and that's what we're trying to do again now.
Excellent. So guys, the album and the live show is very politically incorrect.
No.
Yes, and I want to know, why did you feel the need to be so shocking, and what do you hope to achieve from it?
Within a week of him and I getting back together, the one thing that we determined is that if we were going to do this again, we did not want to be a trip down memory lane.
Right.
We felt that if the movie The Exorcist scared people 20 years ago, it won't scare people now. The W.A.S.P show of 12 years ago won't scare people now. If we were going to come back and we were going to do that, or do this show in this decade, we were going to have to be the nastiest, the stinkiest, most vile band on this planet. And with the show that you're getting ready to see up here tonight, I think we're hitting the bullseye.
The live show, then, you debase women. I believe that you rape a nun with a knife.
Nuns kind of...
Nuns are different than women, aren't they?
Well,
they're in a different category. Well, you know what it is, like I said, we didn't want to be a trip down memory lane. We said if we're going to do this, it's going to be intense. We're not doing anything that you're not seeing on TV as it is. We're coming to a W.A.S.P show is like watching the news for 55 minutes or an hour. We're just giving people exactly the decadence that the world is in right now. We're only reflecting it. That's it.
That's pretty sick. Do you debase yourselves?
Well, look at me now. I mean,
Yeah, well, actually,
you know, it's
let's
like,
take a look at this wonderful.
you know, it's, this isn't exactly 10 Downing Street now, is it? You know, of course it might be.
So what are your plans for 97 then, Blackie? Do you think this is going to really catch on and really take off in Europe, or do you feel that there's going to be a market there for you in the USA as well with what you're doing?
Well, it better do good because we've mortgaged everything to make this happen. So, you know, it just, when I left here last time, everybody kept pushing me. Said, you know, and I'm thinking, God, these guys must be bored to death, you know. And then I went home and I thought, you know, it feels right. I remember what it felt like in '82 and '83. The difference being between then and now is then it was localized to Los Angeles. This time it's a global situation. But I do feel like something is happening again. I don't know just what, and I don't know how far this is going to go. Our plans for '97 is we're going to do 2 passes of America and 2 passes of Europe, and 1 of the Orient, but and then make another record next year. But as far as how big any kind of metal movement is going to get, I don't know. The one thing I do know is that when you compare what's happening now to what happened 10 years ago, the 90s have done to the 80s what the 60s did to the 50s. And there's a lot of people that think traditional metal is coming back. I've got my doubts about that. I don't know if this is the best record we've ever made, but I know without question it's the most intense record that we have ever made. And it may take people a few listens to cotton on or to grasp what this is all about, but we feel that we've made the right record for right now.
So I guess just to finish then, Kill, Fuck, Die sums up the 90s, the situation for the 90s.
If we wrote I Want to Be Somebody in the 80s, this is that exact reflection 10 years later.
Okay. Thank you very much for joining me here.